The third time in a week, Secretary of State John Kerry, Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel, and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs General Martin Dempsey took to Capitol Hill today to make the White House's case for military strikes in Syria. The House Armed Services Committee behind me is hosting the hearing, and unlike the previous hearing last week, there is an actual non-military solution on the table. It's the Russian proposal, which reports indicate that the Syrian government has agreed to hand over chemical weapons stockpiles to the international community and have them destroyed. Secretary of State Kerry addressed this latest proposal.
This cannot be a process of avoidance. That has to be real, has to be measurable, tangible, and it is exceedingly difficult, I want everybody here to know, to fulfill those conditions. But we're waiting for that proposal. But we're not waiting for long.
But at the same time, Kerry didn't back down from the threat of U.S. military action. He in fact said that a possible peaceful solution was made possible only because of threats to strike.
The only reason the Assad regime has even publicly apparently consented to the Russians that they'd be willing to do something, having never admitted they had these weapons, is because this threat of force is in front of them.
Now, there were more concerns from lawmakers about the scope of a potential strike. Secretary of State Kerry reiterated again that this will be a small action.
It's not Iraq, it's not Iran, it's not a year's war. What I was doing was trying to point out to people that we are engaged in a strike, which we have again and again. And if you want to take my comments in their entirety, I have said this will be meaningful, it will be serious. The Assad regime will feel it because it will degrade their military capacity. But compared to Iraq, Kosovo, Libya, it's small. It is not any of those things.
For now, though, approval from Congress for military action is on hold. The Senate was supposed to hold a vote tomorrow. It's been delayed. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell came out today opposed to strikes, and a new resolution is being drafted in the Senate that calls for diplomatic solutions first before any military strikes are permitted. Now, that may be able to attract more support in the upper chamber. Unclear when or if there will be votes in the House this week or next week. But this Russian proposal may have legs. President Obama met with French President Hollande and agreed to work with China and Russia on the UN Security Council to come up with a resolution compelling Syria to hand over its chemical weapons. Now, all of this comes just ahead of the president's planned primetime address to the nation tonight to make the case for Syria strikes. How all of this latest news has changed the president's calculation and desire for action remains to be seen. But for right now, a military strike in Syria looks less likely this week than it did last week. But things still are moving very quickly. Here on Capitol Hill, Sam Sacks, RT.
While Sam Sacks was on the Hill this afternoon, he also tried to ask Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel a few pointed questions.
Secretary Hagel, if Assad says he's going to retaliate, doesn't that immediately escalate the conflict moving forward?
Good hearing. I thought we covered a lot of...
But if he says he's going to retaliate and you're going to make him sorry, doesn't that turn it into a war?
We're done. Thank you.
Looks like Secretary Hagel was done with questioning for the day.